Hello and welcome to Security Scan. I am Vishal Dahiya, and this week we will discuss the fighter aircraft Su-30 MKI. Twin-seater, twin-engine Su-30 MKI multi-role fighter aircraft developed by Russian company Sukhoi is the backbone of Indian Air Force. While the first 50 aircraft were built in Russia, the rest 222 are being built in India under license by the HAL. Inducted in 2002, Su-30 MKI is IAF's primary air-to-air and air-to-ground strike machine. It has a top speed of 2,120 km per hour and maximum takeoff weight of 38,800 kg approximately. India is now seeking to procure 18 more Su-30 MKI, and IAF is also looking to modify some of the already existing Su-30 MKI to carry the air-launched BrahMos-A supersonic cruise missile. Meanwhile, another contract has been signed with Russia for procurement of R-27 air-to-air missile, which will be fitted on Su-30 MKI fighter jet. Now, these missiles are designed to destroy air targets in adverse weather conditions and can be launched from an altitude of 25 kilometers. For more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of guests today. Let me start by introducing these guests to you, beginning with retired Air Marshal S.B.P. Sinha, former Commanding-in-Chief of the Central Air Command. We also have with us retired Major General Ravi Arora, the Chief Editor of Indian Military Review, and Mr. Ajay Banerjee, the Senior Defence Correspondent of the Tribune. Let me begin with you, Air Marshal Sinha, and let's, for the sake of our viewers, let's try and put Su-30 MKI in perspective vis-a-vis its journey as well as its specifications.
Su-30 MKI today is one of the most potent aircraft in the world. It's an air superiority fighter with multi-role capabilities. In air-to-air role, it is one of the most maneuverable aircraft in the world today, which is beaten slightly only by the Su-35. No other aircraft can match it in its maneuverability. In air-to-air role, it carries up to 10 missiles. In air-to-ground role, it can carry up to 8 tons of air-to-ground weapon load. And in one of the configurations, it can carry up to 32 bombs. It also has the capability to suppress or destroy enemy air defenses. For that, it has got its self-protection jammer. In addition to that, it has got very powerful escort jammers which can jam these surveillance radars and provide a safe corridor to a package that it is supporting. It also has anti-radiation missiles which can be launched from very large distance. And it has a variety of air-to-air missiles which range from the 40 km close combat missiles to almost up to 120 kilometers R-27s. And in between you have the R-77s, which are 75 to 80 kilometers, which are the Russian equivalent of the AMRAAM. So these are the capabilities. The Su-30 MKI was evolved from the basic airframe of the Su-27. And what gives it great capability is the canards that are fitted in the front, which help reduce the drag and give additional lift to the aircraft. And it has got thrust vectoring nozzles, which provide additional capability for high maneuverability of the aircraft. And you all have seen the Su-30 carrying out the Cobra maneuver and the tail slide, which no other aircraft demonstrates in any air display. This shows the capability and the controllability of the aircraft and the stability of the aircraft and the engine in all conditions of flight.
Okay. So that explains, that Su-30 MKI does pack quite a punch there. But with respect to the Indian Air Force, before I move on to General Arora, and this role of Su-30 MKI in the Indian Air Force, it is considered to be the backbone of the IAF.
It is, there is no doubt. Today, Su-30 fleet is the largest fleet of the Indian Air Force. We have ordered 272 aircraft, of which almost 250 plus have already been received. And there are talks of Indian Air Force going in for more aircraft to make good for the losses that have taken place over these years. So it is a fact that the Su-30 is the backbone of the aircraft. But in air operations, no aircraft operates in isolation and independently. So you always have a package where you will have the Su-30 supported by the Mirage 2000, the MiG-29 upgrade, and now with the Rafale coming, we will have a formidable combination of the Su-30s and the Rafale. Along with the Mirage 2000 and the MiG-29 upgrades, which will be very difficult for any adversary to be able to come anywhere close.
Okay, we'll dwell in detail on that combination of Rafale and Su-30 as well. But let me bring in Janlora here first. Janlora, that's quite a apt sum up as far as Su-30's capabilities are concerned, specifically Su-30 MKI, which the Indian Air Force has. If you look at its role specifically in the Indian Air Force and the way the journey has been from 2002, when India received the first Su-30 MKI from Russian defense company Sukhoi.
Yeah, see, the Sukhoi 30 MKI was bought even when it was on the design stage. We have always depended on Russia for our fighter requirements because we have not been able to develop a fighter of our own. This is not a light combat aircraft. This is a heavy combat aircraft. And in that class, we were not able to get a similar fighter at the cost required, in the numbers required, and to be assembled and manufactured in India. So we went in for the Sukhoi 30 MKI, which is a twin-seater and a twin-engine aircraft. When all our fighters have been single-seater and single-engine, except the MiG-29 and the Su-30 MKI. Jaguar also. And of course, each aircraft has a two-seater version for training purposes, but this is for an operational purpose. And let me also dwell on this twin-seater. There always been a debate whether to have single-seater or twin-seater. There's always been a debate whether to have single engine or double engine. Now, if you find, you will find most of the modern fighter jets, they are twin-seater as well as single-seater. So what governs? It's the philosophy. The F-15 and the F-16 in the US Air Force are single-seater, but in the Israeli Air Force they are twin-seaters. The F-35 being developed as the 5th generation fighter is a single-seater. But what really makes the difference is your philosophy. In your philosophy, if you think a second pilot is more important for distribution of responsibilities, say for example, second pilot is considered as 2 additional eyes in the cockpit. If one pilot is incapacitated, the second one can recover the aircraft. If the rear pilot can look after the radar and the ground threats, the first pilot can look after the air threats, and similarly there are problems between, if you have a two-seater fighter, mainly of coordination, mainly of training, mainly of the penalty that you have to pay for having an extra seat means higher weight, lesser endurance, more fuel required, and very importantly, there is not enough time in modern combat for the two pilots to exchange notes or to have a conversation. And some pilots tell me that the pilot in front who is doing the actual flying, what is going on in his mind, the second pilot is not aware, and there have been accidents in the sense the first pilot may turn the aircraft sharply, inviting higher G forces, and the rear pilot has actually broken his neck as a result because he could not anticipate what the first pilot is going to do.
Okay.
So these two things dictate which philosophy is in force in which Air Force. And even now in the American Air Force, there is a thinking that they must have a F-22 Raptor and a F-35 as two-seater rather than a one-seater.
Okay.
Similarly, the argument goes for twin engines also. When you require higher thrust, higher endurance, higher speed, it dictates that you have a twin engine aircraft. But twin engine also means, the
weight of the aircraft will increase.
More management problems, the pilot workload increases, he has to monitor both engines. It means, more the cost of acquisition, servicing, overhauls, inventory, and so forth. But still, the Indian Air Force has decided on the Su-30 MKI. The reasons have not been put in the public domain why they went in for a two-seater or twin engine.
Okay.
But we still support what the Russians have been developing as the 5th generation fighter as a double-seater twin-engine aircraft.
Okay, I'll bring in Air Marshal Sinha on this as well. But let me first bring in Ajay here, who's been patiently listening to both the gentlemen. Ajay, in this aspect also, the twin-engine versus single-engine and twin-seater versus single-seater debate, obviously there. But Su-30 MKI, being a twin-seater, twin-engine aircraft, has proved its worth.
It has. I must tell the viewers a little story which happened on the 26th of February when the Mirages were flying off from Gwalior towards to attack, or rather to drop bombs on Balakot. The Sukhois were used in what the Air Force calls a sweep. Sweep means a package of Sukhois flies to the border and comes back to show to the enemy or show to our adversary that probably the Sukhois are going to attack. And we are told, I learned from sources in the IAF, that there were 2 packages of Sukhois doing this sweep on the Western Front, even as the Mirages were flying along the Himalayan ridgeline to do that bombing of Balakot. So Vishal, this is a kind of aircraft which is used to even deter the adversary, because the Sukhoi will be a much potent platform when compared to the F-16 which our Western neighbor has. So this was just to give an explanation that what kind of a role Sukhoi can play. Sukhoi can be, in other words, when we talk about actual war, it can be a very big potent deterrent to other people, especially when it will be carrying the BrahMos. BrahMos, as all of us know, has the ability to hit around 300 kilometers. One does not know if fired from the air how far it will go. We are out of the regimes which we were held back. So the missile range can be extended beyond 300. As we all know that the regimes which are holding us back, we have signed treaties with other countries and the international bodies, which allow the BrahMos to be of a greater range than 300. So fired from the air, possibly 500 kilometers. So that will be a huge distance to cover, Vishal, because one missile fired from the air traveling 300-400 kilometers will be a rarity in these parts of the world and for our immediate neighbors, especially on the Western Front. And it will also add to the confidence of the IAF, because we all know that the numbers of the fighter jets as per the mandate of the CCS, which talks about 42 squadrons, is not enough. At the moment we are around 30-31 squadrons. It's in public domain, so that's why I'm saying it. We are on 30-31 squadrons. Now when we come to the Sukhoi, if the Sukhois are there in greater numbers, that will give the pilots or the Indian Air Force or the commanders in the Indian Air Force headquarters the ability to carry out greater number of attacks, as Air Marshal Sinha put it. The Rafale in the Sukhoi, and if I remember, the Air Chief Marshal Dhano also said it somewhere last week, the Rafale and the Sukhoi together will have the Indian Air Force, or make the Indian Air Force into a very potent force, Vishal.
Okay. Air Marshal Sinha, on the twin engine versus single engine and the twin seater versus single seater aspect, which General Narwa brought in, your views there?
See, the requirement of twin engine and the requirement of single stroke twin cockpit is not so much by operational philosophy. It is primarily by the design aspects that are factored into making the aircraft. Twin engines are required because for an aircraft to be able to generate an amount of thrust, you have the technology which has peaked, because the turbine blade temperatures cannot be increased any further because the metallurgy does not support it. So if you want that additional thrust, you got to put the second engine. Okay. And by putting the second engine, you can bring down the turbine operating temperatures of both the engines and thereby making the engine much more safer. So that is the requirement of twin engine. As far as the twin cockpit is concerned, it is based on the ergonomics and the concept of the design of the aircraft. In the Su-30, the airborne radar which is installed in the Su-30 gives you the capability to do air-to-air and air-to-ground work simultaneously. A single pilot cannot do this. Therefore, you have one pilot who is in the air-to-air mode and the other pilot who is on the air-to-ground mode simultaneously. And that is what brings in the potency of this aircraft. And you must have heard this word called swing roll, where an aircraft can switch from air defense mission to a ground attack mission if it is carrying both the types of weapons simultaneously. So this capability is there in the Su-30, and that is why it is having twin cockpit. And if you see, all modern aircrafts today are coming with twin engines, because single engines cannot support that kind of thrust requirement which is required for those aircraft.
Okay. And in case of Su-30 MKI, it is also said that despite being an heavier aircraft, because it is a twin engine, twin seater aircraft, the maneuverability is much better than some of its counterparts.
See, maneuverability is governed by two very important factors. One is the stability of the aircraft. So, more stable an aircraft, the more easily controllable it is, but it is less maneuverable. The more unstable an aircraft, it is more difficult to control, but it is highly maneuverable. Therefore, all modern aircraft are unstable or negative stable. And to come over the problems of controllability, you have fly-by-wire, which ensures that the aircraft envelopes are not exceeded. And this instability gives you maneuverability.
Okay.
The next important aspect is reserve of power, which is basically the amount of thrust that you can generate vis-a-vis the weight that the aircraft is having. So, this difference gives you the reserve of power. So, the Su-32 engines gives you additional thrust, and it is unstable aircraft. The fly-by-wire enables you this.
Okay.
In addition, it has thrust vectoring nozzles, which over and above the aerodynamic controls also turns the tail of the engine in a manner which adds to the movement of the tail. The movement of the tail, if you move the tail down, the nose will go up, and vice versa, or sideways. So, that is how you achieve very high maneuverability as compared to any other aircraft which is relying purely on thrust and instability.
Okay. Let me bring in General Narwa here, and on the aspect of this, combination, the combo of Rafale and Su-30 MKI. A lot has been said. In fact, the Vice Chief of the Air Force also said that this will be a very potent combination.
That's because when you compare the Su-30 MKI and the Rafale on our side with what the adversaries have, the Chinese have the J-10 and the J-20. The J-10 is in largest numbers in the PLA Air Force. So when you compare, J-10 is no comparison with these two aircraft because J-10 is actually modeled on stolen designs and software and avionics of the Israeli Levy and the F-16 Viper kind of design. The J-20 is a multi-role, all-weather stealth aircraft, but they claim it to be a stealth aircraft. Ours is not a stealth aircraft. But our air chief has nixed those, the thinking that, or the claim from the Chinese that J-20 is a stealth aircraft. He declared openly, we tracked the J-20 flying over Tibet all the time. So when you compare these aircraft, the J-20 is also not superior to the Su-30 MKI. And the Rafale is just coming is a, notch further or better than all these aircraft. Why? Because the Su-30 MKI, as the Russians made it, has been improved by us with, say, the French head-up display, the Israeli electronic warfare suite, the targeting pod. Now we have the better AESA radar. Earlier it was passive. We have better maximum takeoff weight, more number of .12 points on the Sukhoi as compared to 8 on the J-20. The range of the Sukhoi is better.
Okay.
1200 of the J-20 versus 2000 of the Sukhoi. And with in-flight refueling, it increases to 8000. So all these features make Su-30 MKI itself so much better than the J-20. We don't even have to have the combo of the Rafale to say that both these in combination will beat our enemy
But then we are going to have that combo soon.
Yes, we will be able to have that combo. Only thing I would say is just the combo is not enough. You do require numbers because you have the threat of a two-front war and assets then get divided. And it is the management of the two fronts which will come into play, which is only possible with better numbers.
Okay, I'll bring Air Marshal Sinha here before I go to Ajay on this. Your point of view on this, aspect of combo of Rafale plus Su-30 MKI being a very potent combo.
See, like I told you, aircraft never fly in isolation or alone. Even at night we have formations. When you had the Balakot strike at midnight, past midnight at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, you had 12 Mirages flying and you had the supporting Su-30s flying along. So, the combination of aircraft is a truth. That is how flying is done. So, today you are having the Su-30s flying with the Mirages, the Bisons and the MiG-29 upgrade. Tomorrow, you will have it flying along with the Rafale. So, the combination has to be taken into account. And when you have the Rafale, remember that the Rafale is coming with the Meteor, which is the longest range, kill range air-to-air missile today in the world. So, it will be a total game changer because nobody will come closer than 150 kilometers to a Rafale. So, that is why the potency of the Rafale will further augment the capabilities of all the aircraft, because it will create an air situation where these aircraft will be able to perform much better, because the threats on them will decline commensurately along with the threat posed by the Rafale and its Meteor combination.
So the deterrence capability
will be phenomenal.
Will multiply. Ajay?
See, Vishal, to put it in the right perspective, see, I think the numbers, everybody talks about the numbers, the 42 squadrons which the Cabinet Committee on Security has cleared those numbers. That actually literally translates into almost 600 warplanes. Now, is 600 enough? Possibly no in a two-front warfare. This number was decided, what, 15 years, 16, 17 years ago, when China was not what it was today. China's number growth, or the growth in numbers in its airplanes, warships, is at a far, far greater pace. It is almost 3 times the pace what we are doing, or even 4 times in case of warplanes. Now, coming back to China and our other adversary on the Western front, when we talk of numbers, do we need another single engine plane? We are already talking of 123 of the Tejas, which is a single engine plane. Is there a window for more single engine planes and a mix of single engine and twin engine planes? I don't know. Probably the Air Force can answer it much better. But if you talk of numbers, what we are told in public domain, the figures are that a twin engine plane costs around 30% more than a single engine plane. So do we have that money? Does the country have that kind of money? We are already spending 15% of the country's budget on Ministry of Defense. That is a huge lot of money for a country like India, which has got other aspirations to meet. And when we talk of defense, we always talk of the bigger equipment. The bigger equipment has to be used in case of an exigency. Without the exigency, what is the role of a twin engine fighter jet in the air, say in a combat air patrol? The Mirage is a single engine plane. I'm sorry, is it single engine, twin engine, sir?
Single engine.
Single engine plane. It's a single engine plane. It did the strike at Balakot. And do we need more single engine planes? I don't know. Probably the Air Force think tank will be able to tell better what they're thinking, Vishal.
So ultimately, it's about the numbers. General Lodha, final words from you.
Yeah. See, we have number of types and various classes of fighters. I think we should restrict ourselves to the Sukhoi 30 MKI, the Rafale and the LCA, but produce them in larger numbers in a quicker time frame if we have to meet our strategic and operational requirements. So there is a need for a production line, not one, multiple production lines. Whether we produce them by assembling them in India or producing them in India, that should be decided by the operational requirement rather than any other factor.
Okay. Air Marshal Sinha, concluding words from you.
There is no doubt that numbers are required and there are well laid out plans. But for these plans to become effective, you need to have a concrete process. We are only looking at filling the gaps now. But in the process of filling these gaps, you will take 10, 15, 20 years. What you need to factor is that in these 20 years, the existing aircraft will also start retiring. So, in fact, over next 15 to 20 years, you will have to replace the entire Air Force. The Su-30s will also start retiring because the first Su-30 was inducted in September 2002. So, to be able to fill such large gaps, it is not a single line. You need to have at least 3 lines. One is the LCA line, and which will continue on to the indigenous LCA Mark II and the AMCA. The other should be a single engine fighter, and the third one should be a twin engine fighter. The advantage of the single and the twin engine fighter is that this indigenous line is all related to design and development. Design and development have their own risks and delays. Nobody can guarantee that the aircraft will come out at a particular time with a particular capability. But the single and twin engine established aircraft, and these lines will be able to absorb any delays and continue.
Okay.
So the designers in India will not be under pressure to deliver an aircraft which is short of the requirement. They have capacity to absorb those delays. So therefore, it is in the given circumstances, my belief is that we should have 3 lines. One, the indigenous LCA Mark I, Mark II AMCA line, and the other should be a single engine line, and the third should be a twin engine line.
Okay. Ajay, your words before we conclude.
Yeah, I totally endorse what Air Marshal Sinha has said, because in the public domain, as we were speaking, the Indian Air Force needs numbers, and those numbers have to come in quickly, and all twin engine may not be a sensible option, as sir has pointed out. LCA, single engine and twin engine. We have to be very, very segregated and set the pace, and he's made a very, very valid point that the next 2 decades from now, we will be replacing these very planes Where is the production line? Where is the assembly line? We have to start now. We are already late.
Okay, so there it is, clearly as pointed out by our panelists that the twin-engine and twin-seater multi-role fighter aircraft Su-30 MKI does pack that punch, and it has proved its worth as far as its role and place with the Indian Air Force is concerned. But as our panelists are pointing out, we need to go ahead and shore up the numbers, put in the production lines and increase the induction of more aircrafts in Indian Air Force. We'll come back again next week with a different topic and different set of guests. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.